Cincinnati coming off a I don't can we say emphatic win over Oklahoma State or do we just say big win? I don't want to is emphatic too much?
No, I think it's fine. They beat them down.
I
It's
mean, okay,
postseason basketball, man. Yeah,
you're
every
right. Yeah,
win is big.
you're right. It was an emphatic first round victory over Subi's Cowboys. And they were able to get the victory and they earned the right to advance in the Big 12 tournament to take on the Iowa State Cyclones. Now, Iowa State has been a team that has kind of been all over for some reasons that aren't their fault, and for some reasons that maybe are their fault. They start off the year, and honestly, Iowa State was in my Final Four for the early part of the non-conference, and even early on in the conference season. I was just so impressed with this Iowa State team, the defense, Keyshawn Gilbert, Curtis Jones, Milan Momcilovic. Joshua Jefferson is one of my favorite players in the country. I thought he was a very underrated transfer from St. Mary's. Then Momcilovic gets hurt. Then some guys get sick. Then they start losing games. They go on a losing streak, right? Things aren't looking all too well. They've been kind of going back and forth. They were able to end the season on a high note with the victory, and now they take on Cincinnati in the first game for them in the Big 12 tournament. Subi, I'll throw it to you first because I do want your Iowa State thoughts on where you stand with this team before we kind of jump into more so the matchup.
Yeah, I think on the whole, I'm still pretty bullish on Iowa State. Look, teams go through peaks and valleys for sure. And I've never been one to kind of get swayed or swept up and make sweeping generalizations, really. Now, look, Iowa State didn't look good, but they battled all of those trials and tribulations. They've had a gut punch of a loss in McHale Center, which they shouldn't have lost, and they got revenge for it. Like they played a comprehensive game as well, but then they also had another gut punch at home and at uh, in Hilton, excuse me, against BYU. Like this is just a team. It seems like they've gone through a gauntlet, man. They've really gone through it this season, and I think it's actually going to serve them a lot better for the long run, as opposed to it being all daisies and flowers and beating up on teams. Like I think they've seen the valleys, but now they're starting to peak yet again, and they just got to make sure that they're healthy. Now, as that relates to this game, what is the status of Keyshawn Gilbert? Like, do we know is he 100% playing or is he a game time decision? Because I think regardless, not to be a spoiler here, but I think regardless, Iowa State ends up winning this game. But for the long term prospects of this team, Keyshawn Gilbert's got to be on the court.
Yeah. No, he 100% has to be on the court. And look, if I'm Iowa State, I'm Coach Otts. With all due respect, this is Big 12 tournament basketball. This is a team with much higher aspirations. It's a team firmly in the tournament. You don't risk Keyshawn Gilbert or anyone in that case to beat Cincinnati in the Big 12 tournament with all due respect. But I mean, I think you made a good point with this Iowa State team. You don't want to get to a point where you're like, oh, well, this team's just getting a bad end of the stick or kind of a bad rap or something like that. But they really have had a lot of gut punches this year at the hands of your boys with Caleb Love with a 60-something footer from the heavens above at the McHale Center. Like they have beaten a lot of good teams. They have lost to some bad teams, but overall, I'm a believer in this Iowa State team. I think that Otts is a really, really good coach, an up and coming coach still. The backcourt of Gilbert and Jones, and then we didn't even mention Lipsy, who's I think has been battling through injury this year, but still is one of the better point guards in the country. They have Joshua Jefferson, they got Momcilovic, they got Deshaun Jackson down low as well. I really like the makeup of this Iowa State team, and also it's a tough team, right? I think given that they went through the things that they went through earlier in the season, but just in general, they're a very tough and physical team. And on that note, kind of makes it conducive to playing a team in Cincinnati who is coming off a win yesterday. Obviously, they're one back, right back, no rest. Guys got a little bit nicked up in yesterday's game. What do you think is Cincinnati's path to victory in this basketball game?
Yeah, there's a few things actually. So first and foremost, they need to take care of the basketball. Iowa State is very active. I don't know. I don't want to call them a Houston light on defense because they haven't been as tough or consistent, gritty, menacing, really, as the Cougars. I don't know if you can find anyone in the country who is, but Iowa State is pretty active on the defensive end, and I think they do a good job of forcing turnovers. So if Cincy wants a path here, got to take care of the basketball. They did not do that against Oklahoma State. Just turned out that Oklahoma State is abhorrent at taking care of the basketball, but Cincinnati was not great, taking care of their possessions. Okay, Cincinnati also needs to crash the glass. I think they need to generate some offensive possessions because I don't think their offense is good enough to just hit it on the first shot. They need to gain some more possessions out of that. So I think those are the two critical aspects of this: is taking care of the basketball and crashing the glass. Anything for you? Like, what's a path there for the Bearcats?
So the one thing about the Bearcats is they are a good defensive team. Like they are top 25 in the country in defensive efficiency. But on the flip side of that, they're barely a top 100 team offensively, and they do struggle offensively in a lot of basketball games. We saw in the Oklahoma State game, it was free reign to go to the basket. It's not going to be the same in this game. They are going to have to hit some shots against this Iowa State basketball team. They are going to have to show some toughness and some physicality against this Iowa State basketball team. And look, Cincinnati was a team that was top 25 coming into the season. Metrically, they were still pretty good for the most part of the season. They fell off. They're all the way down to 53 on KenPom. But with teams like this, I still like to hold out a sliver of hope that there is something in there that can make this team get back to that form it was. That could keep them in this game. I don't know if I have faith that a Cincinnati team with maybe a nicked up backcourt is going to be able to take care of the ball against Iowa State and the kind of the chaos that they like to cause. Because I think, to your point, Iowa State's never out of basketball games because of that chaos that they cause. I look back to that BYU game that happened recently. They were able to have BYU throwing the ball left and right, which got them back into the basketball game. So Cincy is a team that is they can take care of the basketball, and you're going to have to take care of the basketball in this game, because if you don't, they're not going to be able to offensively keep up, right, to stay in this game. They need to value every possession. So I think that's a good call out of you by you with taking care of the basketball.
It's huge. And then I think personnel wise, we've gone this long without mentioning Seamus Lukosius' name, who didn't have a first good game against Oklahoma State. Look, this is against Iowa State, man. Jizzle James can show up. Dylan Mitchell can show up, who, by the way, I'm pretty sure Dylan Mitchell will show up. Dan Skillings can show up, and he did against Oklahoma State. Day Thomas can show up. Seamus Lukosius also needs to show up. This is an all hands on deck type of game, because I can almost guarantee that the personnel for Iowa State, like we talk about all the trials and tribulations they've gone through, they have dudes that are comfortable stepping up into different spots. We didn't even mention Brendan Chatfield, who I think has been a pretty good, impactful player. Like, he's not going to score the ball a ton, but he gets the nitty gritty. Him and Deshaun Jackson are just huge bodies. So I think everyone needs to be engaged in this game. And I'll tell you what, it seems pretty obvious, but Wes Miller needs to just be like, don't rest on your laurels. Essentially, I don't know if you could find a bigger 180 if you tried than going from Oklahoma State to Iowa State. Like, this is going to be a completely different beast.
Yeah, 100%. And you get to the last point that I wanted to make too. This is a matchup of Wes Miller in a big game versus TJ Otzelberger. That is not a hard choice for me. And I think you know which way I'm going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and get us to the end point here, where we get to the prediction of this game. Unless you got something else you'd like to throw in there, Subi. I love your end of notes before we close out, and you make sure that we get it in.
No, see, I don't think they're that great, Cart. I feel like I'm belaboring the point. So let me just go ahead and get to this prediction of mine. Ultimately, Iowa State's offense is too good. I think their defense is going to be too disruptive. They're going to give the Bearcats hell. I think they'll turn over Cincinnati. Clones win 84-72.
Yeah, so KenPom has this game as a 72-65 win for Cincinnati in this game.
For Cincinnati?
Oh, sorry. My apologies. Iowa State victory. Iowa State 7-point victory. But yeah, sorry. Don't wake up. Don't wake up the little one. But don't wake up the little one on my court, because I got you yelling about things
You
that aren't
said
going
it,
to
not
happen.
me.
I did say, you're right. That's on me. Hand up over here. But yeah, KenPom has Iowa State winning this game 72-65. If you're a betting man, I absolutely love that number. I think Iowa State suffocates Cincinnati in this basketball game. We've seen Cincinnati have these just offensive droughts where they are just unable to put up points. I think back to that performance they had against Kansas State where Wes Miller let his feelings be known in the post game press conference. I think you might get another one of those in this basketball game. I'm gonna go Iowa State. I'm gonna go Iowa State 79-60. I think they shut off the water in this one. But we will be here to recap that game over here on Sleepers Media YouTube channel when that game concludes. Be sure to tune in to Sleepers Media YouTube channel. We will have previews and recaps of every Big 12 tournament game. So be sure to tap in with us, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We will catch you for the recap of this game.